Hey guys, so are you a Raspberry Pi user and you want to use IRC? Well, if you've used IRC clients in the past, you know how easy it is to get them installed. That's if you're using the GUI or a desktop operating system. But if you're running a headless Raspberry Pi, you might be scratching your head because you'll need to find a different way to install an IRC client. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to install the IRSSI package. We'll also configure it to automatically connect to IRC servers and your favorite channels each time it starts. So let's first connect to our Raspberry Pi using SSH or just start a new terminal session. But before we install anything, let's make sure that our package repositories are up to date with sudo apt-get update. And now comes the important part. Installing IRSSI, which is the IRC client that we want to use. And you can do this by running sudo apt-get install IRSSI. So as soon as we have it installed, let's go ahead and run IRSSI. So you can see that it's running fine, but the problem is we haven't added things like what servers we automatically want to connect to or what channels we want to auto join. And the best way to do that is by modifying the IRSSI config file. So inside our IRSSI session, let's send the /quit command to exit out of IRC. And then after that, let's navigate to where the IRSSI config is located by running the cd command. Once you're in that folder, run the ls command and you should see a config file there. The reason why we ran the IRSSI command a few seconds earlier in this video is to let this file actually get created. So if you're not seeing this file, it's most likely because you need to start IRSSI at least once. Okay, let's continue by running sudo nano config to start making changes to this file. And the first thing we'll do is press Ctrl or Command W and search for settings. This is how you'll be identified in any IRC network that you use with IRSSI. First of all, I don't recommend using your real name here because these are public networks. And to make it easier on yourself, if you want to use the same value for your username and nickname, that's completely fine. Next, let's go back up all the way at the top of the file and use the Ctrl W command to search for servers. You'll see a bunch of IRC networks that you may have used in the past. So feel free to keep what you need, but if you see a server in here that you don't want to connect to, just remove those entries. And if you're not sure what to use here, you can easily just find the IRC network settings through their website. And then after that, all you have to do is navigate to their servers and find the right one that works for you. So for example, I'm using a US open server from IRC Net. So I need to make sure that the server address matches up correctly. And something else to keep in mind here is if you're connecting to a server that doesn't use TLS, make sure to set the use TLS value to no. And do the same for TLS verify, because otherwise you will have trouble connecting. Unless of course you know for sure that these are secure networks. And also don't forget to set auto connect to yes if you want to connect to the server automatically. Next, there's no point in using IRC if you don't have any channels to join. So let's jump to the top of the file again and then use Ctrl W to search for channels. And as you can see, there's already a list of channels here. You most likely don't want to connect to any of these. But if you need to look at which channels are available for your IRC network, just visit that network's main website and then look for the channels there. Most of the time, you can easily just search for topics that you care about and then find what you need. So let's go ahead and first reduce this list to ones that we actually care about. And then after that, I highly recommend that you set auto join to yes. So what this does is tell IRSSI to automatically join each of these channels every time we connect. Perfect. So now that we have everything set up, let's go ahead and save the config by pressing Ctrl X followed by Y and then hitting enter. Let's run the IRSSI command again, and if you give it about 2 to 3 minutes, you will be connected to all of your IRC networks using the file that we updated earlier. For example, notice how the username that we provided earlier from the config is now being used here. And right now, we are on page 1, which is basically the server page for the IRC network. But if you want to see your channels, you can change pages by pressing Ctrl or Command P. And each page has information like what users are in those channels. More importantly, you can also see which messages are being sent by others. But if you wanted to send any messages in a channel yourself, just navigate to that channel by changing pages and then just type away. Last but not least, you can always manually join channels at any time. First, go back to the server page, which typically has status written on the bottom left. And then after that, run the command /join space hashtag followed by the name of the channel, and you'll immediately be added to that channel. But keep in mind that we did this manually compared to the automatically joined channels from our config file. And by the way, IRSSI is a tool that's designed to run in the background. But that's a big problem if you're using a headless version of the Raspberry Pi like me. Because if we decide to run something outside of IRC, we have to kill our IRSSI session. But don't worry, because I've already done a video showing you how to use Screen. And this is a powerful tool that lets you run things like IRSSI in a completely different terminal, which means you can run IRSSI on a separate screen. And by using a shortcut to keep IRSSI running in the background, you can jump back to your terminal, run another command, and then return to your IRSSI session without having to kill anything. So if you need to learn how to use Screen, be sure to check out the step-by-step video. And now you should have the power to reunite with IRC networks using your Raspberry Pi. Thanks for watching. And for more on using IRC with the Raspberry Pi, please consider subscribing to this channel.